From the very first time I felt his unique energy, I wanted to meet him. If you ever have shared any exciting concert conducted by Sascha Goetzel, you may feel the same. The Austrian knows perfectly how to make every musician in the orchestra special. Istanbul, Florida, Quebec, Tokyo, Nantes, Sofia, no matter where repetition or concert takes place, he works with the belief. Every emotionally played note is a result of a shared respect. And to the audience, Sasha has a simple message. Classical music is open to everyone. Just like that, Sascha Goetzel greets us at the stage of the legendary Bulgaria Hall to share his thoughts about the new world and the classics. How are you feeling?
Waiting for spring.
You like this season?
Yeah, I like the seasons. Mm-hmm. I love winter too, but when I was young, winter, I'm from Vienna, was a little bit more snowy, it was more white, a little more white magic.
Yeah.
Now it's a little more dark, the winters, and more rainy. And spring, of course, is always a special transition in the cycle of the season. So I can't wait for the spring to arrive.
Me too, actually. And after the exciting New Year's concert here in Bulgaria Hall on this stage, together with Svetlina Stoyanova, what a great soprano she is. You're coming to Sofia for your next concert together with the Sofia Philharmonic. What is the energy usually do you feel when you arrive here in Sofia?
Well, Sofia for me has from the beginning a very special chemistry. And I always say it's probably because in my student time, when I was studying in New York, I had very close friends from Bulgaria. And they were my closest friends for years. We really hang out together. We did everything together, also practicing. I mean, when we were at Juilliard, it was one room, me and then the other friends from Bulgaria in the other rooms. And we always set a time, we meet. Yeah. And then we meet for a little break.
Yeah.
And then we went back practicing the whole day. And this went on for years. And then when the first time, I remember very well, when I came here, I've heard, of course, of the tradition of this orchestra, but I was really incredibly happy and grateful to feel that Sofia Philharmonic has kept a tradition of playing. So we're talking about a specific sound you can imagine with the Sofia Philharmonic, which you cannot imagine with another orchestra, and also articulation and phrasing. And I think that coming here now since a couple of years always gives me joy and pleasure. It is like a chemistry between two people you cannot really explain. Because you know, we're all not perfect. It's like a human being. We all have flaws and mistakes.
It's good to remind us that we are not perfect.
We are not perfect.
Yeah.
But the beauty is when we accept each other, that we are not perfect, but we grow together and create something beautiful together. That's the goal what we have. And here in Sofia, I always feel that. It doesn't matter how much time we have. It doesn't matter the repertoire, because we played a lot of different repertoire. And with Svetlina, who is very dear to me, because she, with me together, she performed at the Wiener Staatsoper Figaro, and it was her first Cherubino. And from that moment on, we became very close, because we have so much respect. I have so much respect for her work as an artist. And she also enjoys very much being with me on stage. So finally being here in the culture, she has the roots, you know. It's beautiful, and I was very happy for this concert.
And maybe you know this year Sofia Philharmonic Orchestra celebrates 113 years since the beginning of this orchestra. But why did you accept the invitation to be principal guest conductor?
Because
what is the challenge to you? Maybe
the thing is that I like relationships in general. I find it very fascinating to learn more and more deep about people, but also an orchestra, which is like a body of sound. It's like almost like a person.
Like
an
a
orchestra,
living organism.
A living organism.
Yeah.
So when I feel that there's a good chemistry with an orchestra and the orchestra asks me if I could think about a closer relationship, then I try to make it work, because we both learn so much from that relationship. It's a win-win situation of growing together.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that we have this time. COVID, of course, was difficult for us because we had planned a complete Mahler symphony cycle, also recording it. And with COVID, everything is still a little bit difficult to adjust. But we will find our way to continue and to set for us goals, what we would like to achieve. And so altogether, this journey with Sofia Philharmonic has been really a beautiful journey. It's a journey about learning, about respectfulness, and about inspiration. So creating beauty for the audience is what stands in the center of our work. And it really makes our work so beautiful.
Yeah. And talking about Bulgarian classical music and artists, of course, are they well known worldwide?
Yes, they are. I think Bulgarians have an incredible, rich and diverse tradition in the classical music, in all instruments, almost all instruments we can say, and they are world known, absolutely. You find many Bulgarian musicians also in orchestras around the world.
In key places.
Yes, in key places, in leading places, And for me it's no surprise, because now I know the root.
Yeah.
And it's just a very strong quality of music education in Bulgaria.
So let's go to our komshi, to our neighbors in Turkey, because in my eyes, one of your greatest achievements is the work you've done with Borusan Istanbul Philharmonic. So what's your way? Tell me more about this project, and what's the way of reaching such a success? What has the process been like?
First of all, a success like this cannot be planned.
You maybe can plan only the work and the process, but not a success.
A success you can't plan. There need to be so many things work in the right way together. From an artistic leadership point of view, it was a very extraordinary situation, because Borusan Istanbul Philharmonic was at that time like a selection of some of the finest musicians all over Turkey. And many of them were very young. They were just finishing school, or they were, let's say, already professionals, but only for a couple of years. And then there were some very experienced musicians, fantastic players.
So an interesting mixture.
Yes, it was a very interesting mixture. And when we started to work, I said at that time, I think that this orchestra has a huge potential. And I would like to make a working plan for 4 or 5 years to establish a dialectic of music making. So what does it mean? I'm sure also in Bulgaria you have different dialects in different regions. So in Sofia you talk a little bit different Bulgarian than in other places. And this is exactly the same with the music. What makes a symphonic orchestra special is, first of all, of course, the quality of playing. So you have to achieve a certain quality of sound production for each instrumental group. That's the base. But then, that it becomes an outstanding international ensemble, recognized, you need to find a specific dialectic, which is required to give the audience an extraordinary emotional experience. And I would say that altogether, the journey what we did, we could achieve that it didn't matter where we played, if it was in Turkey or BBC Proms or Salzburg or internationally or on the CDs, but we could achieve a very specific experience, music experience, when we were on stage. And it didn't matter what we played. And this in the end also created that continuous success. And yes, it was incredible work. It's something when a conductor is allowed to achieve something like this, it's really a high privilege in your life. And this is also how I see it. After Borusan Philharmonic, it was really for me just to find a new way to a little bit reinvent who I am as a conductor. And also with Sofia together, which helps me a lot, I think I find now a new way approaching the second part of my career.
Yeah. And Sasha, what type of manager and artist director are you? In your opinion, what is the recipe of high team results, no matter of the context? I mean, you're in the music, in the classical music, but to work in a team, to be the leader of this team, is there a recipe for you?
I think the recipe is respect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that most important thing...
But mutual respect.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we all understand that we are in a team, mm-hmm. and that we are alone, we don't achieve anything. When I do this, there's absolutely no sound. So I need the musicians to play.
Yeah.
So this already needs to have a respect. And the same is for an administration artistic leadership. I think when you have respect to your colleagues on all levels, in the library is the same, like for PR, like everything, then you can achieve great things, but you have to calm down. It's not such a thing like an absolute opinion. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't even exist in science. Even science is regularly developing.
Yeah.
So this is what we have to respect. To lead an orchestra now is different than to lead an orchestra 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So we have to respect the time. Every time needs certain tools that you can be growing and successful.
Yeah.
And your team also, you need to respect the opinion of your team, mm-hmm. and your team needs to respect your opinion. And if they cannot respect your opinion, or you cannot respect it, then one of you has to leave. Mm-hmm. Because it's really, if you have a problem seeing or trying to see another opinion, then the team cannot work, cannot be successful.
Yeah. You're talking about the conductor as a profession, So what's the future of being a conductor, and does your profession need to adapt to the new world nowadays? What are the necessary changes?
I think naturally it's adapting.
Yeah. The musicians are changing.
Yes,
also,
I think.
Generation.
I think every generation which is growing up naturally becomes a child of that generation and reflects it in the music making. So there is not an intellectual thought behind to change something, because there's a natural change in any case.
Yeah.
What the conductor job has changed drastically is, I would say, the technique. So nowadays it's almost standard that even a conductor at very early age, so early 20s, can conduct all the repertoire and has no problem leading an orchestra from the technical point of view, which means that the orchestra is together and they can play the piece. And the same, this technical level in the conducting, the same as in the orchestra. Nowadays, you have the musicians being trained so professionally from the first moment that, let's say 30 years ago, what used to be a B orchestra now performs like an A orchestra. And A orchestras internationally, they can perform almost like an international top ensemble. What remains, of course, is the difference of the storytelling. Is it on stage that the conductor, doesn't matter where the conductor is coming from, which gender, but is it for the conductor possible to tell with the music, because music is a language, so with the language of music, a story so convincing that actually the audience is connecting to it?
Yeah.
That's the main key of catching the audience, and that the audience is excited, and also the musicians. Of course, I would say sometimes what we see, because the technique is so high developed, that the conductors using the technique for a show element. This is very tricky. At the moment, it doesn't really show so much in the music making because the orchestras play great. The audience is not yet aware what that means, so to say. But in time, the performances will get more flat. Because to go deep in the music, every gesture you do, everything you do is in a direct dialogue with the music and the musicians. Yeah. So if you do something which has nothing to do with the score, at one point the concert will go flat. Mm-hmm. And then this energy which is on stage, you will not feel anymore in the audience. Yeah. And then naturally, because you talked about the change, naturally there will be a new change, which I think will come probably in 5 to 10 years. That you
soon?
Yes, because it's already starting. Mm-hmm. So that actually you see conductors which create a high energy in the audience, and then everybody understands, well, this is actually a conductor who is really capable of connecting. And then you see a conductor maybe being as much energetic as the other conductor, yeah. But there is not so much energy in the audience.
There is no such a reaction.
Exactly.
From
And this, of course, in time, will play itself out. There is nothing we need to do.
Yeah.
Because the beautiful thing about music is that there is no time frame. Music is always happening in the now. You cannot think about it in the future, in the past. That's it. If you play a note, the note is played. You cannot go back and change it.
Yeah.
So that's why we need to trust that everything that's happening is a natural process. If we like it or dislike it, is a egoistic reflection of what's happening now. It's a very personal opinion. But in a whole context, what's happening is what's happening. It's a fact. So we have to accept it.
Yeah. Well, and in this talking, you are not a typical classical conductor, to me. If I may say, you're like the football manager Jürgen Klopp, but in classical music. You have this energy. Your style is dynamic, energetic, and etc. But is this your way to tell people classic is for everyone, not for a selected audience?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up very traditional. I'm a Viennese boy.
You're from a music family,
music family, a Viennese boy, classical music, in one of the most wonderful but also most traditional orchestras, Vienna Philharmonic. So I grew up in this family. My father was playing there. Every week I was in rehearsals, concerts, operas. It was a privilege to grow up like this. But of course you get a very specific picture of classical music. It's a privileged, it's an elite kind of experience.
Yeah.
And so I was somehow feeling as a teenager when the revolution sets in and you want to change something, I was feeling I have to leave.
In the late 80s?
Yes, in the mid-80s already. I felt it in the mid-80s, but I could not leave because I was too young. Mm-hmm. But I felt I need to leave Vienna. I didn't really know why, because I was happy. But there was something in me which said, you have to go. So I was pushing for it very hard. And then when I was 18, 19, I organized to leave and study in New York. And then, of course, the picture changed completely. Because I saw the freedom you need to have as a real artist. It's important to know about the traditions. I'm somebody who really believes the traditions are important to be studied. This is coming out of education I was lucky to have.
But where is the balance between the traditions and the new form of energy of the new generations?
So here is the key I found for myself. Mm-hmm. When I was studying about the big composers, like we played Richard Strauss often. And Richard Strauss is a good example because he basically studied all the repertoire of the previous eras. And the way he did it was he copied the complete music. So he copied completely all Beethoven symphonies. He wrote down every note just to learn how the music worked, about the tradition of composing. Yeah. And he did it with many other pieces, also Mozart. So after this, he revolutionized the music knowing about the traditions. And I think that's the key, at least for me. Yeah. I can only revolutionize, or let's do evolutionize, because revolution is always connected with a direct like attack of
Yeah.
something you don't want, which I don't like.
Yeah.
But evolution is connected with the development.
Yeah.
So to evolve music tradition, to make it more modern, to adapt it to our time, you need to know the traditions. Because otherwise, you don't evolve. You're just putting something out there
Yeah.
without any knowledge. And if this is happening, it's empty. At one point, it will not resonate anymore with the musicians and the audience. So my advice for young conductors is really learn, study about the interpretation traditions from very early on. After you have internally understood all those traditions in the different cultural background, then start to do your own thing.
Yeah.
But without knowing, it will be very difficult, that you will be substantially changing interpretations.
Yeah. So many things that I want to ask you, but two personal questions. First one, how on earth do you balance between non-stop traveling, rehearsals, concerts on high level, and also time for recharging yourself? How do you balance?
Well, it's not, sometimes for sure it's not easy. I think many conductors suffer from a little bit of a burnout. It can happen very easily. Yeah, let's put it like this. I myself experienced it, so it's dangerous because the music pushes us and we don't feel that the body actually is already screaming that you have to stop.
Yeah.
So we have the problem between the mind and the body balance and the energy and the soul of the music. The only way is to learn about yourself. It's like for everybody else. You have to look yourself in the mirror, be honest to yourself and say, well, if you continue like this, don't be surprised that you will end up in hospital or that you will make mistakes in a concert or whatever. So this is it. It's really very simple. You have to be truthful to yourself.
Yeah. And I have no choice, Sasha, but asking you, how is your beloved little elephant?
Oh,
Dol, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Dol is, thank you. Is a she. Is a she. She's so sweet. I saw her yesterday and she was falling down close to a river, and then they were helping her up again. And then they said, which is beautiful, because I feel we can learn so much from nature, from our environment. This is something so important. And Dol for me is beautiful to learn how the natural process of growing is, even when you're totally underprivileged. Because Dol, she lost her parents. Yeah. So I think we really have to see each other with a reflective, honest opinion. Many of us are really privileged. We really live a privileged life. We should really think that what can we do in this moment, which is for us and for our environment the best possible. What can I contribute? I think if everybody would agree to take 10 minutes every day just thinking about what we could contribute to our communities would be a much more healthy place. The toxification of the dependency patterns of reactions all the time, if it's good or right or not, this is a big problem. It's toxifying ourselves inside, and because of this, we are toxifying our environment and our planet. So Dol, the little elephant, the baby elephant, she reminds me how important it is to stay pure to yourself and always think how to contribute to your community.
Yeah. And final question, Sasha. We are living in crazy, fast, and always hectic world. What does that sound like? What note, what octave, what accent would you like to describe the melody of our modern times? Because you love using metaphors, especially working with musicians.
Well, the noise, let's say.
Maybe something from Krzysztof Penderecki.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think that the noise at the moment in the world is not anymore clear. This is what I feel. The vibrations are not clear anymore. There is no clear melody.
There's no clear note.
No, it's not anymore structured. It's because of this new media feeling, the dynamics. Everybody can say anything and nobody's listening, just saying something above. So because many of us are not listening anymore, you cannot listen to a melody because a melody requires that you listen. So everybody's talking above each other. So for me, it's just an unstructured noise.
But your work is to find the tuning.
For us, it's to give that beauty back. Yes.
Yeah. So Sasha, it was really great pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, it was fantastic. Yes, yes.